In this demonstration, we'll take a look at how to configure an interface on a Juniper's device. Now, the first thing I want to do is display you my interface settings for my Fast Ethernet interface 0/0/0. So I'm already connected to the Juniper device, and I'm going to use the show interface FE-0/0/0, which is the first Fast Ethernet interface that I have. Now I want you to see a few of the characteristics here. Notice first off that it says that this is a physical interface, which is FE-0/0/0. So that's the identifier for this interface. Notice that the interface is currently enabled and it's physically connected. So the physical link is up. So what this means here is that enabled means the device is up and functioning properly, as well as there is a physical connection. So it is possible that the physical connection could still be there, but you've gone and disabled the interface for whatever reason. So that's important to note there. The other thing I want you to notice is that I can see the link level protocol that's being used. So notice that it's the Ethernet protocol that's being used on this link. I can see the maximum transmission unit is our typical Ethernet MTU value of 1514. I can see the speed of the link is 100 megabits per second. So those are all physical characteristics of the interface. Also, we can see what the current address is versus the actual hardware address. Notice that the MAC address is shown in the physical interface characteristics. Now, I want you to notice that there isn't a logical interface here. That's something that I need to configure before the interface can be used itself. So before I configure the logical aspect, though, I do want to configure aspects of the physical interface. So I'm going to go into my configuration mode. So I type in edit. Now I'm in configuration mode, and I'm going to set interfaces FE-0/0/0, which is the identifier for this interface. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the description. Now, before I type description, let me put a question mark here so that you can see which values that I can supply next, or which parameters I can supply next. So just a few common parameters I want you to see. Notice that we can apply configuration groups here. Notice that I can set the description. I can disable the interface if I want to with the disable parameter. We can also specify things like the MAC address to use, the MTU value to use, so the maximum transmission unit. So it's defaulting the 1514, but I can alter that. Another common option here as well is the speed of the link, right? So I can set that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set my description, and I'm going to set it link to accounting subnet. And then I'll hit enter. And then I also want to set my interface. So I use the set interfaces command, supply the index number of the interface that I actually want to manipulate. This time I'm going to use the speed command, and I'm going to set that to 100 megabits per second. So on this device, I can set it to either 10 megabits per second or 100 megabits per second. So I do know that the default was 100, but that's how you can set the speed explicitly when configuring the device if you wanted to. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to modify the IP address, so the logical interface. So I'm going to go to Edit Interfaces, FE-0/0/0. So notice I'm in my interfaces prompt for FE-0/0/0. And within here, I'm going to configure the logical unit 0 and specify my protocol that I want to use is IP version 4, so family is INET, and then specify the address of 11.0.0.1/24. So this is how I can assign the IP address on this interface, but I do want you to notice that it's the logical interface I'm configuring here, which is the logical unit 0. So I hit enter, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to commit those changes, and I'm going to exit out. And what I want to do here, I'm going to exit one more time. and I'm going to do a show interfaces FE-0/0/0, just because I want to see the configuration of this interface. And what I want you to see here is that we do have the physical interface settings, right? So it's FE-0-0. Notice that it's still enabled. The link is still physically up. We do have the MTU, and the speed setting is still there, right? So I really haven't changed much there. But one thing I do want you to notice is that we now have the logical interface, right? That didn't exist before I configured the unit 0 on the interface. So we do have our logical interface. So the physical interface is FE-0/0/0, and now the logical interface is .0. And notice that this is where your protocol information is. So the protocol is INET for TCP/IP version 4 here. We can see the IP address is 11.0.0.1. That makes the broadcast address 11.0.0.25. Don't forget I did use /24, and you can see that there. So the destination network this is for is the 11.0.0 network itself. So notice that I do see that that logical information that's been configured on the interface. One other thing that I forgot to note is on the physical interface, I did set the description. So you can see that description is displayed up top there, linked to accounting subnet. Now, one more thing that I want to do is I want to show you how to disable the interface. So I'm going to go back into edit mode. And if I want to disable the interface, I'm going to set interfaces FE-0/0/0. And remember, there was a disable command, right? So I do disable and I hit enter. Now I'm going to commit that change. And then I'm going to go back and look at my show interfaces FE-0/0/0. And I want you to notice that when I look at the physical interface, it is administratively down, which means as an administrator, I have physically disabled the interface. Notice that there's still a physical link, right? So there's a connection, but I've gone and disabled the interface. So the reason why I wanted to show you that is so you can see that in the status of the physical interface, but also I want to make sure you know how to enable the interface. So let me go back to edit here. And to enable the interface, you basically delete the disable setting, which is kind of why I want to stress this. So I can do a delete interface. Now I don't want to delete the whole actual interface configuration that I've created, so you make sure you add in the disable option. So delete the disable setting, which would make the interface enabled. So now if I commit that and then exit out, and let's do the show interfaces one last time, so you can see that the interface is now enabled. So in this demonstration, you saw how to configure an interface on a Juniper device.